everybody. Today in the house, we have Michael Pope. He is a software developer. He is a trainer. He is a life coach. He's a mentor. He's a father. He's a husband. And he is more than that. He's been trained under John Maxwell. So thank you for being here and welcome, Michael.
Thank you
Thanks
for inviting me.
Here.
So happy to be on your show, right? So thank you so much.
You're so welcome.
I love the positivity that you're putting out into the world with your videos and all that. So awesome.
Thank you. So please share with us, what is neuroencoding?
Yeah, so I absolutely love neuroencoding. So to me, and this is kind of more my definition, it's the process of really programming your mind to create the life you want. Really, right? To create those lasting results is how I look at it. And I love it.
And how has impacted your life?
Yeah, so like you mentioned before, my background is in software development, computer programming. So from a software perspective, a computer standpoint, I understand how programming works, right? So learning about neuroencoding and learning that I can actually program my mind for success has really opened up a lot of doors for me. I was doing a lot of the same things that this program talks about before I learned about them, but now that I understand why, I do them more. Simple things like just using affirmations, self-talk on a regular basis. Like I've used self-talk for years, for decades, but now knowing the importance of it, it just makes me do it more, right? So I'm more intentional about doing it, right? Looking in the mirror and saying, I am magnificent, or, Michael, today you're going to have a great day, an amazing day, right? And just programming my mind for success. So I absolutely love it.
Yeah, it's conditioning, right? It's like conditioning our minds because one of the videos that I was explaining to like yesterday was like our brain is so old that we have the genetics from our ancestors. So our brain is always trying to keep us safe and alive. And we need to condition it to create the life that we want. So awesome.
Absolutely.
And I know you are an outstanding leader. You are an outstanding mentor for us. So please share, what are some of the 3 requirements to become, an outstanding leader?
Okay, great question. And there are so many different characteristics to being a leader. So one, and probably one of the big ones, is integrity, right? It's keeping your word. And I think that's so important, because you can have great skills and talent, but if you're not a person of integrity, right, it's all gonna fall away, right? So being a person of integrity, being a person of your word is so important. So that would be number 1 on my list, being integrity. So number 2 on my list would be more being self-aware. And I learned this from John Maxwell. He talks about, self-aware. The law of self-awareness is, you have to know yourself to grow yourself. And so for me, what that means is having a clear understanding of my strengths and my areas of improvement, right? There are some areas of my life that are truly weaknesses that it makes no sense for me to spend any time working on. However, because I have a clear understanding of my strengths, I spend a lot of times in that area, right? Just working on those strength zones, making myself stronger in those areas. And it creates lasting results. And then the third one would be probably leading. A characteristic is leading by example. I think that's so important, right? So anything that we're doing, someone is always watching. Even if we don't see them, we know that they're watching. So as a leader, we have to just be prepared for that. Know that, okay, someone is watching you. So lead by example. If you say you're going to do something, do it, right? And just, yeah. So those would be my top 3. There's some others.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. And I think the first one is integrity. And yes, that's very easy to understand. And then the second one, sometimes we give ourselves hard time because on our weaknesses, because we're not good enough in this area. But what you're saying is like, we need to reinforce our strength, like where our strengths are.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely.
And I think the majority of us, sometimes we lose track of what we're good at, and then we focus on what we're not good at. So we need to, tilt it to the other side. So that's awesome. And then the third one is live by example, follow by example. Awesome.
Yes, yes. And as you know, I mean, Joseph McClendon talks about the importance of us celebrating ourselves, right? So that's part of identifying those strengths, but also patting yourself on the back when you do a good job in your strength zone. And it really helps.
Wow. Now you have been around. I know you have received tons of awards, and that is awesome. So how do you see, like, what are the three things that you see that we struggle the most? Like, do you see people struggling the most?
Yes, yes. So there's quite a few that come to mind right away. So number one would probably be a lack of personal responsibility. Right? I see a lot of people who they'll blame their situation on the current circumstances, or whether it's the economy or this who's in the political office, or this, or because of COVID. They're constantly making excuses instead of accepting personal responsibility. And I was blessed to learn a long time ago there's only two things that we have control over, just two things really. So it's number one, it's our attitude. So really that's the way we think and react to things. And then also our actions, right? So I have complete control over how I spend my time and what I do my time on. So personal responsibility would be number one. Number two would probably be not having a personal growth plan. I know for me, for years, I mean, I'm 47 now. So when I was in my early 20s, I didn't know that I needed to have a personal growth plan, that the importance of actually growing myself, even in my career as a software developer, right? I just naturally assumed that just for me doing my work, I would continue to get better. But I had to learn the importance of taking time and actually studying my craft, right? Working on my skills, because technology is constantly changing. And so I had to make sure that I was intentional about taking time to develop those skills that I needed. So number two, a lack of a personal growth plan. And then probably number three is probably back into the area of integrity. I see so many people who struggle because they don't keep their word. They'll say, "Yo, yeah, I'm going to do that. I'm going to show up here, or I'm going to accomplish this." And even when the word comes out their mouth, they know they're lying, right? So it's kind of hard for you to trust other people if you can't even trust yourself. And so I would say that's one area that I think a lot of people are struggling, just in that area of integrity.
Okay, we need to lead then, like, like make people aware. Like, I'm responsible for my children, so I'm going to make sure that they're aware of those three things that we all need to work on. And I totally agree with you. Now, on the other side, what are the hopes in humanity that you have seen working and leading so many people?
Wow. I think in general, people have a desire, a true desire to help others. And so that's one of the things that I see. I think that when push comes to shove, if people are giving the opportunity to help other people, they will. All right. But I think that a lot of people, because they get stuck on circumstances, even though they have a desire to help people, they're so focused on problems that they don't necessarily see the opportunities to help people. But I think when you get people focused on just looking at people and the beauty of this world, I mean, they'll really generally want to help people. And I think people generally want to be honest and good people.
I learned that from your mentor, John Maxwell. I read it in one of his books, and it stayed with me. Like, it was like an aha moment for me whenever he shared that. We're all meant to be good. Like, the majority of the population has that goodness. We're just not guided. And
Absolutely. And then John is great about saying that, he'll tell you, we are people of value who add value to other people. And I think if you just have that mindset, anytime you see somebody, hey, that's a person of value right there, right? So, and it's my responsibility to add value to you if I can. And I think if everybody just go with that attitude, it just make the world a better place for sure.
I totally agree. Yes. I have another question. Like, how do you use leadership skills as a father?
Okay. Yeah, that's very important. So my wife and I have three boys. The oldest is, so it's 14, 13, and almost 9-year-old. My youngest turns 9 this month. And for me, probably if I look at what leadership skills that I have to give to them, one would be leading by example. Like I mentioned earlier, someone is always watching. And I know with me having 3 boys, they're constantly looking at me, right? So anything that I do, they're going to lean into that, into their example of, how I treat their mom. That's going to be how they treat women in their life, how I go after my goals, or how I handle failures, and how I win, right? So they're looking at those examples. So it's so important for me to show that example. And we do. So when I'm serving, I make sure they understand that, okay, here's how daddy's serving and helping people. All right. They see me serving at church. They see me winning awards and just succeeding. And I think it definitely helps them out.
That is
So
awesome.
so that would be one. Also, and my wife and I are big on this in the area of integrity. So if we tell our kids that we're going to do something, right? And if we make a promise to them, hey, on this day, we're going to do X, Y, Z, then we do whatever we can to make sure that we're able to fulfill that promise to them. And we're really big, even when we were smaller, like we would actually get on people if they would tell our kids, oh yeah, I'm going to give you this XYZ toy or whatever, right? We would hold them accountable to that, because we're like, you're not going to be lying to our kids, right? So if you say you're going to do it, then do it, because we want them to be able to trust, especially us. Because if we tell them something, we want them to have 100% trust of knowing, okay, mommy and daddy said they're going to do this and they're going to do it. And so that's so important to us. But we do whatever we have to do to make sure we can fulfill that promise, because integrity is huge. And yeah, and I'm trying to think and then probably the third thing, and we do this on a regular basis, is allowing our kids to face their fears and kind of coaching them do that. So this past weekend, I think it was on Sunday actually, I took my boys to a place called Urban Air here in Ohio. And so in Urban Air, they have different things where you're climbing, so you're really high up. And I remember my 8-year-old, he was on this one thing, we're very high up, probably about 12 feet in the air. And he was harnessed on, and he was supposed to jump off of it, right? And he wanted to come back down, because he was like, he got there, he was like, I really don't want to do this, right? And so I had to coach him through overcoming that, let him know that he's okay, and that we're right here and that he can do it, right? So just constantly building him up. And then once he did it, he felt really good about it.
Awesome.
And so that's so important, right? We don't allow our kids to quit on things that we know they're capable of doing. We're really big on that, because we know that it's going to help them out in life. I mean, I saw that with my 2 oldest. They both have their black belt in karate. Wow. And the first time they went for the black belt test, they failed, right? The second time they failed, probably 3 or 4 times, but they eventually did it. So they realized, okay, well, I'm not going to do everything correct the first time, but they had to practice. So they had to go through that hard work, right? Deal with the tears and that regret, but we didn't let them quit on it. And so they were able to face those fears and just, be courageous.
And whenever they earn it, I bet they truly appreciate it, right?
Yes. So they were like, like they knew they did it, right?
Yeah, it's like the hard work paid off, and they didn't give up. So that is amazing. That is good. Yes. So what do I have? This is a extra question. Like, what do you think, like, we need in society? Because we're going through a stage of people like leaving work, like they don't want to be in a corporation anymore. Like, what do you think is going on? Like, what do you think they're just stepping out?
Yeah, so I'm curious about that as well, because I see that happen a lot of times where, like, I know in a lot of places here where, like, there's lots of help wanted signs, right? Because people are choosing not to work and all of that. And I think there's a couple mindsets. I mean, I think one is there's people who are home now. They've been home for over a year, and they realize I can actually do something else, right? There's something better that I can do with my time. And so, yeah, people becoming more entrepreneurs, and so that's understandable. But I think you have also some people who are trapped in fear, And that fear is making it where they're like, well, the government is going to take care of me, or this person is going to take care of me. So they're not taking that personal responsibility. So I think you have a mix of both.
Of both, yeah. Right.
Yeah.
And like John Maxwell and some of other people on his level, they're like talking more about like we need more leaders. Like we need to lead this new generation or this new stage and time. These people are struggling, so it's like we need to guide them. We need to tell them that they need to change their mindset. That there's goals out there for them. There is fulfillment if they decide to follow the right steps.
Absolutely.
So
He's got a great book called Change Your World where he talks about that, right? And letting people know, okay, here's what you can do to change your world. And our world may just be our household, our family, right? Or it could be our, the people at our church or just people in our immediate association. But if we start making those small changes there, it's going to have that ripple effect and bless a lot of people.
That's awesome. Now, I know you mentioned this book, but what has been a book that has added tons of value in your life?
Yeah, so absolutely, the 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth. So I have it right here by John Maxwell.
Ooh,
Absolutely love this book because I grew up being a natural introvert with a very low self-image. I was only child, so I was alone a whole lot. And I was stuck with my own thoughts, and a lot of those thoughts were negative, right? So I had a low self-image, but learning from books like the 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth about personal development and the importance of it really changed everything. So I love going back to this book and just reviewing, either reading the whole book or just picking out certain laws and just studying them over and over, because I've seen the benefit of personal development in my life. And it's absolutely amazing. All right. If I look at where I was when I was in my 20s to where I am now, and it's an amazing transformation, but I owe it all to personal development, right? And it's in the combination of the books I've read and the people that I've associated with.
I totally agree with you. It's like treasure.
Yes, absolutely.
Like you found treasure, and then you find one piece here, one piece there, and it's a never-ending thing, but it's so rewarding, and you see that your life is improving. And I'm with you right there. Like self-development is it's a huge treasure we found, and we have to share with others.
Yeah, because I know you're a big reader.
Yes. And thanks to book. It was so funny now that you say that. I didn't like reading, but because my second language is English and I wanted to go to medical school, my lowest score was reading. So I began to read self-development books. And I just love, I love them. I fell in love with them. And look at me now. Like I didn't pursue medical school anymore, but I'm now with self-development career where I think I can impact more people with it. So yeah, it was through reading that my life changed. What is a message that you want to leave today for our audience, for them to begin to start creating, like a brighter future?
Yeah, so two things come to mind. So one message I would tell everybody is be more intentional about the words that you use. I love how Joseph tells us to do the mirror technique. How you see yourself in the mirror. You look at yourself, and I would say, hey, Michael, I love you. You're going to have a magnificent day, right? You're going to do some great things with your life, right? Just constantly programming our mind for success. So that will be one. Then also, I love Joseph's quote. I know you've heard this before, right? Where he says, fortune favors the bold, and life is exactly what you dare to make it. So let's boldly dare to make your life magnificent. And that is so important. I absolutely love that quote.
Thank you so much. Yes. It's like we have to condition ourselves to create the life that we want. Thank you so much for your time and your wisdom and your stories. You're an outstanding mentor for our community, and I truly appreciate you. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye. High five.